Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Strategic Plan Visioning Forum for USG 2.0. On behalf of my co-chair, Ike Leggett, and myself and our Strategic Planning Committee, we welcome you all to this opportunity to think big picture, boldly about the future of USG. And we thank you all for taking the time and having the interest to do this. We can't plan the future unless everyone is involved and everyone is engaged and everyone's input is taken into consideration and helps fuel the process and moves us forward. So thank you all so much for your time today. Uh, Jeff, could you go to the next slide? So this is our agenda today. We'll say a brief welcome and some introductions. We're going to have a mission moment where we hear from some of our stakeholders about the importance of this moment and the mission of USG. I'm going to share a little bit about the USG 2.0 framework and some of the work that we're going to do. Then we're going to do some breakout sessions. There's a lot of us on this call. There's 86 members on this call and growing as I'm looking at the numbers here. So we are going to be going into breakout rooms where everyone will have a chance to participate in smaller groups and report out as well. And then we're going to do a wrap up and try to capture what we've heard and what's been shared so that we can feed that into the strategic planning process. So with that, I'm going to ask that Jeff, you want to go to the next slide? All right, so first of all, we're going to start off with what we're calling a mission moment. And this is an opportunity for us to hear from some of our key stakeholders who are going to share why they think this is so important. And I'm just going to call them off and then ask them, Jeff will spotlight them on the screen. So first of all, I'm going to ask Henry Mandazis, who is a recent graduate from UMBC and who's supporting the Strategic Planning Committee as well. Henry?
Thank you so much, Dr. Kademian, for introducing me, and thank you all for joining today. Here's that my internet connection is acting up a little bit, which is part of the beauty of this current time. And so in terms of that, let's get started. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. That quote was written by Maimonides, but it might as well have been the tagline for every university. We must remember that we are lifelong learners. And for all of us in this Zoom room, we must recall the moments where we pursued knowledge to become better at what we do. It is the mission of USG to provide a high-quality education to students from all backgrounds in the industry-saturated Montgomery County and to prepare them for their next steps. I was a beneficiary of the excellent work done at USG, having taken classes here for 2 years. And in that time, I sat in classrooms with students of color, first-generation college students, parents, full-time employees. I had my papers reviewed by tutors at the Macklin Center for Academic Success who knew me by name. As I prepared for graduate school applications this time last year, I had my resume reviewed and gained valuable career insight at the Career and Internship Services Center. With the Center for Student Engagement and Financial Resources, I worked with highly motivated students seeking to augment both their college experiences and those of their peers. Continue to benefit from USG's emphasis on high quality service in an intimate setting as COVID-19 came along. And through speaking to various stakeholders on 90, USG's first ever student podcast, I came to appreciate the institution-wide commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. As we come together to pivot USG into the future, we must consider the unique experiences of the students that take their classes here in terms of service delivery. We must continue to appreciate the local businesses that benefit from the talent produced here. It's not the work of this faculty and staff behind the scenes go unnoticed. This first strategic plan does not need to be the last, but it must reflect the stories of the place where they came together. I've, as a UC graduate, I've been lucky enough to interact with so many wonderful people here. And I know that as we continue to do this work, that there are so many wonderful people in this room dedicated to improving USG.
Thank you so much, Henry. Beautiful sentiments and a lot of good energy for the work ahead. Next, I'm going to introduce Marty Rosendale, the President and CEO of the Maryland Technology Council.
Thank you, Ann. So I have to admit, when Ann asked me to provide this mission moment, I agonized for the last week over exactly what I was going to say. But what I've decided to share with you is my own education experience and why I think it's important and why it's pertinent to USG and the opportunities at USG. So when I was younger, my father was a machinist mate in the Navy. He became a machinist, he became an entrepreneur. And by the time I graduated high school, I had been through an apprenticeship for machinists. I had become a qualified tool design engineer, and I had my commercial driver's license and was accustomed to driving a 45-foot tractor trailer around the streets of Los Angeles. I got married, and about the time that I was about to have our first child, decided that what I really needed and wanted to do was go to school and study my passion, which was microbiology. So I went to school. I got a degree in microbiology because I studied brewer's yeast in my graduate level research and nothing pathogenic. My 4-year-old daughter was able to join me in the laboratory quite often. But as a result of that education and the experience that I got early on in my life, I've had the privilege of being the CEO of 3 different biotech companies and the founder of 2 companies before becoming the CEO of the Maryland Tech Council. I've had a long, enjoyable, and dynamic career. And I think the opportunity to work with non-traditional students that are motivated, have the energy and the desire to pursue and get this education, I think is tremendous. And the opportunity for USG to be that campus, to be that university, to work with those non-traditional students, to develop them is also a tremendous opportunity. And as we see the technology and life sciences industries grow in Maryland, we're seeing a demand for just that kind of talent coming out of the universities. We need people that can work in manufacturing facilities, that can understand multiple fields so that they can develop and help these companies grow. I see USG as being perfectly placed and the best campus in the state to develop that talent as we grow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marty. Awesome. Next, I'm going to introduce Mel Gomez, who heads up the Embedded System and Internet of Things program here at USG. Mel?
Hello, everyone. So when I was asked to give this, I also agonized a little bit. I didn't quite know exactly what to say. So I looked at the USG's very noble mission, and that is to support and expand pathways to affordable, high-quality public higher education to support the workforce and economic development of the state. And I said, well, wait a minute, this is exactly what our program is supposed to be doing. So, so I think that I would like to spend a few minutes to just describe to you our program and what's been going on. And so, and hopefully this is going to be consistent with the importance of the USG mission. So as a background, last year, the Clark School of Engineering launched a new Bachelor of Science degree on embedded systems and the Internet of Things. It's a 2-year program after students with associate's degree have, after finishing associate's degree, they come and they spend their junior and senior years with us. It is the first engineering degree from College Park to be offered at USG. And it's the first, I think, of several other that are currently in the pipeline. So now embedded systems. Embedded systems are really tiny electronic chips that form the building blocks of all intelligent electronic devices. They are ubiquitous. They can be found everywhere. Phones, computers, cars, industrial machines, buildings and highways, bridges, medical instruments, and of course the rockets and instruments we sent to space. Okay. The Internet of Things is the term that denotes the ability of these devices to communicate with one another through the internet. And because of this combination of smart devices and their ability to communicate, we can then collect massive amounts of data to make sense of our environment, to make sense of business operation, to predict failures ahead of time, to design self-driving cars, secure our homes, deliver healthcare more efficiently, and so forth and so on. So you can see it touches practically all aspects of our lives. So the demand for this technology is expected to continue in the years to come. And according to market research, its market share is expected to be several $trillion by 2025. And that's a trillion with a T. So our BS IoT program is focused on providing a strong engineering foundations to harness the internet's power and meet the growing demand for practitioners in this space. This is particularly relevant to the state of Maryland and perhaps most pronounced in Montgomery County. Montgomery County, as we all know, is the hub of high-tech companies, academic and federal research institutions, defense, public health institutions, and so on. And we believe that we have only just begun to scratch the surface of this technology. In the years to come, we can anticipate significant progress in things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, high-performance hardware, and novel applications basically in the foreseeable future. And things are moving very fast. Now, just a few years ago, who would have anticipated that a watch can perform an EEG scan? Nobody really anticipated that one, but the technology has come to the point where we can do almost magical things with what we have right now. So coming back to our program, the program was designed to be a cost-effective way to earn a Clark School engineering degree. Students really save resources by first getting an associate's degree in any STEM field from any community college in Maryland. And we all know that community colleges are significantly less expensive than our typical four-year institutions. So likewise, after the first year in the program, our students actually obtain paid internships. We work very hard to train them in such a way, and also to market them. We train them and market them in such a way that they can get internships over the summer after their first year of studies with us. And this will help cover their educational expenses. In fact, in the first cohort, we just had the first cohort, 75% of them actually have internships, good paid internships this summer. The other quarter, the other 25% already have permanent jobs. So combined with scholarships from USG, as well as perhaps at College Park, our students enjoy genuinely affordable, high quality education. Now, clearly, this would not have been made possible without the support of USG, particularly our fabulous new building the BSE building, the state-of-the-art instruments that are housed in our labs, the student recruitment and assistance programs from USG, the scholarships for need and merit-based students, and of course, the support from the University System of Maryland. So I would think that this program of ours is really dead on. It's very, very consistent with the USG's stated mission, which is really exactly to support and expand affordable, high quality public education to support workforce development in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Thanks so much. And our last mission moment comes from Shirley Brandman, who is the chair of the USG Board of Advisors. Shirley?
Thank you, Anne. And going last, you will hear some of the themes echoed, but I think it just underlines their meaning. As Anne said, I am Shirley Brandman, the proud chair of the USG Board of Advisors. And on behalf of the board, it gives me great pleasure to dream with all of you as we shape USG's mission moment. If you ask a board member to define USG, the response will be equity and opportunity. USG is rooted in an unshakable commitment to accessible and affordable higher education, as Mel was just sharing, for traditionally underserved students, many of whom would not otherwise complete a baccalaureate or graduate degree. But for USG's commitment to be fully realized, we must seize this moment to ask hard questions and to eliminate barriers that stand. This is a moment to embrace innovation that can better serve the needs of our students by better connecting them to the opportunities emerging in our county, our region, and our state. This is a moment of opportunity to build stronger pathways across the educational journeys of all students in Montgomery County, pathways that deliver equity to and through USG, where we open doors with our partners and the University System of Maryland. We have the potential to become a model of how higher education can inspire and retain learners by charting a clear course to realizing their aspirations. But strong pathways must be seamless from the student's eye view, and seamlessness requires that we simplify the transitions within our county's educational ecosystem and make navigating admission to the degrees offered at USG more obvious. ACES, a pathway program between MCPS, Montgomery College, and USG that provides coaching, academic, and student services to support degree completion, is a significant step in this direction, but we are still losing too many students in the handoff between institutions and before degree completion. We must hold ourselves accountable to ensure that students achieve the ultimate goal of degree attainment, vitally necessary for today's careers. This is also a moment of opportunity to build the infrastructure for talent development that fuels our economy, especially in life sciences and IT, but not only there. And for that infrastructure to be solid, we must collectively organize ourselves around developing the interconnected components of a true career pathway, where industry and academia collaborate to define the necessary knowledge and skills and begin to expose students to those skills early. Career pathways cannot grow if USG is limited to waiting for the degrees our partners select. Instead, USG must be at the heart of connecting emerging fields to academic preparation, serving as a thought leader with the authority to be nimble in responding to demand, as well as to spark the entrepreneurial spirit within our students. As our chancellor says, USG was created to be a crucible of innovation for USM. As USG has matured, it has become unavoidably plain that innovation requires USG to have a more active role in shaping the opportunities that will prepare our students to thrive and that will sustain the economic development of our region. It also requires a sustainable fiscal model. USG has untapped potential to serve USM as the gateway for increasing enrollment and diversity, and to serve industry by nurturing future problem solvers through the cross-disciplinary and cross-institutional learning that no single partner can offer alone. USG has unique assets, 9 partners, prime geography in the life sciences corridor, the commitment of Montgomery County to sustain excellence in education. Let us seize this moment of opportunity to maximize USG's impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Great vision, bold challenges for all of us. And thank you to all of our representatives who gave fabulous mission moments to inspire the work ahead. Before we start to talk about USG 2.0, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce the co-chair of the Strategic Planning Committee, Regent of the University System, Regent in the University System of Maryland on the Board of Regents, and former county executive, Mr. Ike Leggett. Ike, would you like to say a few words to kick off this strategic visioning process? I think if you're on the phone, you need to hit maybe #6, I think is the unmute.
And I think it might be *6, just
Oh,
so you know.
*6.
I always get hung up on that too.
Thanks, MJ. Ike, I hope you heard that. It's *6.
Do we know which of the phone numbers?
Maybe 443.
I think that I'm on the,
He's on his Karen. There you go.
Okay. Ike, take it away. Ooh,
He may have dropped off.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay, I apologize. A little bit of technical difficulty this morning. Let me first of all thank all the participants who are engaged with us today. I want to say just a couple of words in terms of how I see the process going forward. One of the challenges we have oftentimes is the timing, that people assume either one of two things: either we're going too fast or going too slow. But whatever the time is required and for us to engage fully and meet our requirements of shared governance, we will do that. This is not about getting to a particular point at a particular point in time. We want to get this right. So if in some way, form, or fashion, you believe that you have not been heard, you believe that we're going too fast and that we're trying to meet an artificial timeline, let us know and we will adjust accordingly. We do not want to get this wrong simply for the fact that we're trying to meet a timeline. Secondly, we want your input in terms of how we balance this and who we talk to. A good plan is a plan that really reflects on a couple of things. The balance of the people that we are trying to address, both internally as well as externally. We do not want a plan that we are simply talking to ourselves and not engage in the full community and all of the stakeholders. The timing is also important in another way. We see tremendous change at USG, at Montgomery College, at our public school system. So this is an opportunity to reboot ourselves to the changes that are occurring around us. Then, of course, we need balance in terms of how we see this vision. One thing that we have to keep in mind, we're not looking for a plan that is so aspirational, so far removed from reality that it fails to meet the operational aspects of what we think we can achieve. So there's a balance here that we need to try to construct. A balance of being operational so that it is a 10-year vision or beyond. But it's also a balance that we can foreseeably have this operational at some point in time in the future. All of those things are part of what we are trying to strive to achieve. But we cannot do that without your help, your participation. This will not be the only time for you to participate. We may have, and we will have, some other opportunities. We have an excellent committee of people that you can talk to us individually, collectively, but we want your input and we want to hear from you and we want to engage with you as much as possible. I want to assure you of that because this plan is not a good plan unless you are part of the plan. And I'm here to emphasize that fact to you today. You've heard from our mission statement, you've heard from our standing director, and all the people who are going to work tirelessly to make sure you're part of this. So we look to hear from you in the future. We want to make sure that we are in tune with your views, and we want to have an important dialogue going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ike. It is so great having your partnership in this effort. It's really an honor and just very exciting. So thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you.
thoughts to frame this. So Jeff, if you could maybe put the slides back up for the overview of the 2.0 framework. Okay, you can go to the next slide. I'm just going to say a few words to give people a sense of how we're thinking about this. Building on Regent Leggett's really important point that we need to do this in a way that's sustainable. We need to do this in a way that meets our objectives, the things we can do, but also that we can fund and resource as well. But we do want people thinking boldly and big picture. We do want, this is an aspirational moment. This is an opportunity for us to think about what could be, what is possible. It's an opportunity in higher education right now. You know, we all have come out of this pandemic. Higher education, like many industries, has been tested and strained during this time. So it's time to think innovatively, to think big picture, to try new things. It's a time to build on the innovation that's possible at Shady Grove, the partnerships that define Shady Grove, to really focus on impact, the impact of our work together for students and for the county and for the system, and to really emphasize thought leadership as well. What is possible, right? Where can we go and what is possible? And how do we build a sustainable future for USG as well? Next slide, Jeff. So one way we might think about this is to think about what USG excels at today and how USG, after 20 amazing years, where it is right now, but also how it might change going forward. Some of the things that might stir your imagination as we're thinking about this. So today, USG is often seen as one of the 13 campuses in the University System of Maryland. It's not a standalone institution, but it can be viewed that way oftentimes. Rather, what if we thought about ourselves as a hub of innovation for the University System of Maryland and for all of our partners? Today, we host programs that come to USG. What if we were more of a partner in the development of those programs, in the growth of those programs? What does that look like? What does it mean to be more of a partner in that effort? Today, we have a lot of expertise in serving and supporting transfer students. How about if we build that expertise into focusing on educational innovation? What does that look like? How can we provide an innovative expertise to the growth of our programs, to the connection of our students to the county, to career opportunities, and to economic development, and especially to equity? Today, we support programs as they are developed, but what if we focused more on a broader planning effort, the infrastructure necessary to develop and bring programs, setting bold goals that we can measure with data, and using a process that identifies opportunities that encourages collaboration across all of our partners in order to meet those expectations and those needs of the county around the life sciences, around IT, around data analytics, right? So think about how we could play a role in bringing together more long-term collaborative thinking. Today, we have tremendously strong partnerships, but what does the next level look like in terms of a seamless system for the lifelong learner centered on students and equity? Okay, next slide. So this just recounts some of the things I've said. If we're a hub of innovation, we want to be in support of the equity, enrollment, and educational innovation goals of the University System of Maryland and our academic partners. We want to be a hub of innovation in support of our wonderful partners, MCPS and MC, our pathway partners going forward. We want to be a hub of innovation in support of this broad educational ecosystem in Montgomery County, anchored in equity, focused on the lifelong learner to meet the economic and workforce development needs of the county and the state. Let's make pre-K to job and beyond real. Let's think about those pathways. All right, the next slide. So in the strategic planning process, Regent Leggett laid some of this out already, but the most important thing in the strategic planning process is creating a shared vision. And we're going to start that work with all of you today, building on the work that our Board of Advisors has also done around this area. A shared vision is essential for the work ahead. It's also important that we engage broadly with stakeholders. Today is an open forum. Anybody can join, and we're excited to hear from all of our stakeholders. And there will be opportunities going forward for much deeper engagement as well. And then finally, a strategic planning process is only as good as its execution, right? We have to do what we say we're going to do. We have to have a way to track and lead with what we say we're going to do or planning to do as well. Next slide, please. This is our timeline. Right now, we are in phase 2, where we've convened a strategic planning committee. We're going to be forming work groups coming out of this process in the fall. We'll say more about that later, where we'll do deeper dives into the work ahead. I will also say that during this time, we're going to be having a lot of workshop sessions that are open to everyone as well. In November, we'll have a fall summit where we try to get some consensus on our shared vision that we will be working on across this whole time period. In phase 5, we will be operationalizing and developing a dashboard for the next 3 years with a 10-year vision horizon. So with a 10-year vision, what can we do in the first 3 years to start taking steps towards USG 2.0? And then we'll be developing some communications with the legislature, of course, with the system, with all of our partners, for a first round effort in our plan, but we don't see that as the end of this process. This will be the beginning, laying the groundwork. This is really a 10-year process to reach a vision of USG 2.0. Okay, Jeff, next slide. This summer, you can attend, everybody can attend these workshops. They are around key areas. These are workshops that the Strategic Planning Committee is hosting. Our first one coming up July 9th is on diversity, equity, inclusion, and community wealth building, where we will feature innovation fellows who will stimulate our thinking and challenge us to bring some of those ideas into the strategic planning process. We will focus on innovation. We will focus on big, broad goals and data and USG. We will focus on pathways, the meaning of a pathway, what they look like, the model of a pathway, and we will focus on USG's fiscal model to support this work going forward. So I hope you all look for those and join us in those. Next slide, please. All right, I think this is the point where I'm going to turn things over to Paula Weiderlight, but may I just say, Paula, real quickly before I turn it over to you?
Sure, sure.
I want to give a quick shout out to the students who are going to be supporting our breakout sessions today. They are doing this on a volunteer basis. We're extremely grateful to them. They're going to be taking notes and they're going to be reporting out as well. So Diane Dow, who is in the nursing program with UMB, Isley Del Rosario, who is in the early childhood education program with Towson, Giselle Gonzalez, who is in the social work program with UMBC, Jasmine Hill, who's in the marketing program at College Park, Jennifer Ramirez Tabraj, who is in the accounting program with University of Maryland College Park, Khadeen Solomon, who is in elementary and special education with Towson University, Simrat Kaur is in information science with University of Maryland College Park, and Joe Weaver, who I think has recently graduated. He's with UMBC's political science program. So thank you all so much for stepping up to do this work. I'm going to turn this over now to our wonderful consultant and ringleader of this effort, Paula Weiderlight. Paula?
Yes, thank you so much, Anne. Yes, we're going to kickstart this and start talking about our visioning work ahead. So I know many of you are familiar with strategic plans. We know some of the foundational components of what is in a strategic plan: mission, vision, values. I just want to be really clear that we ultimately understand what each of these means, and there really need to make some distinctions. Occasionally, we will use these terms interchangeably, and I think particularly for today, it's important for us to be really clear. So Jeff, if we could go back to the deck, I just have a couple quick notes before we get into the breakout rooms. Thanks. So on the next slide, you'll see where I've made some distinctions about the difference between mission, vision, and values. So these foundational components, really key to any strategic plan. A mission statement answers that question: what's our purpose? And if you were in a for-profit organization, it would sort of be, what business are we in? And for all of us, why do we exist? Contrast that with a vision, which is, what's our desired future state? Specifically, where is the end zone? Where are we headed? How will we inspire students, partners, and stakeholders to follow us there? And what do we aspire to be? You heard a lot of comments being made about being aspirational. This is really what distinguishes a vision from a mission. And then lastly, strategic plan should include some values that answer the questions: what do we stand for? What are our beliefs? How do we make choices and decisions? Basically, how do we behave as an organization? So with that as the context and distinguishing, let's go to the next slide. the two words that I want to leave you with before you get into the breakout rooms are, we are about being aspirational, inspirational as we develop what our vision statement is going to be. So another thank you to Henry. Let's go to the next slide, who helped us with some examples. Nothing like seeing some examples of other vision statements to inspire us. Henry has chosen for us an example of an academic institution, one of a mega company, and lastly of a not-for-profit. So you can see here Arizona State University, their vision statement, a little bit longer, but it does have some important components. What struck me was their statement about not being measured by whom they exclude, but rather by who they include. I thought that was particularly compelling. If you look at Apple, you know, they weren't shy about what they're on this earth to do. They're on the face of the earth to make great products. And we're going to make the best products on earth, and we're going to leave the world better than we found it. Very aspirational and hopefully inspiring. And then Habitat for Humanity. I mean, this really, really spoke to me. A world where everyone has a decent place to live, easy to understand, and, you know, just as inspirational and aspirational as you can get. So we just sort of give you those as examples. And let's get on to some instructions as we get down to working on the vision statement. So the next slide has the instructions for our breakout groups. We're going to go into 8 rooms. They've been randomly chosen for the most part, with the exception of our student scribes who are going to help us, and we are grateful for that, and they're going to report out for us. And then, as Anne mentioned, any member of the strategic planning committee really help us in terms of getting us kicked off and lead in the room. We're going to take 15 minutes and we're going to brainstorm individually. That means have a piece of paper and a pen, or however you like to make notes, and just quietly by yourself for about 30 seconds, write down all of the words that you think must be included in our vision statement. So just a list, and start with the one word that has to be included for you, whatever that word is. And so I've heard a lot of clues in all of the comments that we've heard so far already from Ike and Anne and our mission moment speakers. Lots of good inspiration I've been getting. So take 30 seconds, write down words, make a list of words, and then we're going to go around the room and everyone's going to say their top choice. And then we're going to go back around the room again and say your second choice and your third choice. And if word's been repeated, we're not going to have that. So we're going to capture everybody's must-have word. And we're going to have a discussion about what's significant about that in the breakout room. When we get out of the breakout room, we'll report on the words, and hopefully we'll have a special treat for you at the end so we can see what was really, really important to everybody in terms of their must-have word for the vision statement. So if we're ready, we can get ready to go into the breakout rooms.
Paula, I'm going to
Yep.
add real quickly, we have one other student whose name I forgot. Alice Meforman from the nursing program is also going to be volunteering. So thank you, Alice.
Yep, very much appreciated. All right, Jeff, let's send us on our way. Okay, we are all back, right? All back in the rooms. All right, so we're going to have report outs through the 8 rooms. It'd be great if we could go 1 through 8 in that order, and have the students report out the top words. I don't know if you're like the room I was in, there was a long list of words. So I look forward to hearing them, and I look forward to some discussion about why they were important. And we have someone who's going to help us, you know, sort of give the results at the end if we can. We're going to have a little drum roll and see if we can see these in real life. So let's start with breakout room number 1. I think that's the one I was in, right, Joe? All right.
That's right. So we had a lot of really great words, and we had a lot of really good discussion about them. We had words dynamic, engaging, vibrant, empowering, equity, transfer friendly, access, innovation, mindful, lifelong learners, and prepared. So I think that, you know, we're just sort of getting a very good look at, you know, what USG is and what USG could and should be.
Absolutely, it was great. we had 2 points I thought in my group that were interesting were the concept of region, which Tony offered, and security. Tony, are you out there? You want to just comment on those two real quick?
Yes, hello. I presented both security of a variation because I've
Oops. Did we lose Tony?
Believe he froze.
Okay. You remember what he was saying about Joe, right?
Yeah, he made a very good point regarding USG as sort of the secure or security, in that students can often be distracted through food insecurity or housing insecurity or other kinds of things that don't really have much to do with academics. And how we could sort of think of USG as being a sort of thing that's void of insecurity, whether that be through our student services. I think Adam sort of kind of hitched onto that, talking about USG as being this sort of affordable model, that through our scholarships, through our sort of our various services, that we can help address those security concerns. And if Tony, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you want to talk about your regional thing, or
Yeah,
sort of facilitate more on that security point?
Yeah, no, you did a great job articulating the security keyword. And then the second one is it's real clear that there's a great relationship between Montgomery County, Montgomery College, Montgomery County Public Schools, and USG. The idea for the vision of USG 2.0 to be more of a regional, being driven by regional partners, such as Frederick County, and some of the other areas that at this point don't appear to be very closely aligned in or articulated in the way USG is being presented.
Thank you so much. All right, breakout room number 2. Who was that?
Hello, I was
Hi,
part of
Diane.
breakout room too.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. So we also had a lot of great words, and if anybody from the group would like to pitch in and explain further, please do so. But we had a lot of words that were similar to each other, but would like to make them separate because they also had different meanings, such as partnerships and collaboration. And there was regenerative and accessibility. And would also like to note, if this is okay, and Jen, please correct me on my explanation, but for accessibility, we like to point out that emphasize that education would be accessible to more students, and which would lead to more students accessible to education. I don't know if I said that correctly, so Jen, please explain.
Sure. I think we were just saying that we were talking about, I know that there was a good point brought up about, are we talking about how USG affects the community, not just students, and the thought of accessibility. We think a lot about accessibility, education being accessible, making education accessible to students, but then the students themselves, as a result, are accessible to the community and the needs of the community. So we wanted to highlight that accessibility had duplicate meanings, although it's one word.
Perfect. I'm so sorry. And also, I would also like to include the word needs-based, because we thought that was very important. And Mr. John Brandt was very creative to come up with that word. And I'm not sure if there were any other words that the group would like to say.
Regenerative got my attention. Can somebody say a little bit more about that one?
Sure.
Jessica.
The regenerative it's kind of a substitute for, in a lot of times thought of maybe as a better word than sustainable, because sustainable, especially when we're talking about things in terms of the environment, sustainability is doing less bad, whereas regeneration is doing more good.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Anybody else from that group want to add?
I could, that the needs based might almost also, it's a hyphenated word obviously, but it might also be needs responsive. USG tends to respond very well to the needs of the state and the community around it when in the products that we provide. Thanks.
That's helpful. All right.
I will just add on I think Diane mentioned the accessibility part, but inclusion was a big word that I think we all touched on, equity and inclusion as well.
Okay, yeah, I suspect we're going to hear that be at the top of some folks' lists coming up soon too, right? All right, breakout number 3. Who was the student scribe for that? All right. Okay.
Good afternoon. So for our breakout room, the kind of top words that came up would be entrepreneurial, along with kind of like / industry focused, accessibility, cooperation, collaboration, community, equitable, non-traditional, and then these ones kind of like bled together. Non-traditional, bleeding edge, innovative, and competitive. Just kind of like that idea of like that we are constantly kind of like trying to do something new and different with our university, because this is kind of like the first time I've heard of a place where there's 9 universities made into one, and kind of just like how we're, taking it further one step at a time. And then we kind of wish that we had, well, I wish that we had 15 more minutes, because Annie Foster Ahmed brought up a really good word or set of words, that words matter. In the context of bringing exposure to USG, because, I go to like people at my workplace, people around my age, and I tell them, oh, I'm going to USG like this fall. And they're like, what's USG? University of South Georgia. And I'm like, no, University of Shady Grove. Like, people don't actually know USG, like Shady Grove, very well. And I feel like I think that kind of needs to be spread more around. It's not just like as a concept of like transferring to other places, but also as a to give that option, like kind of like even inform people of like that +2 experience, because I was never aware of USG until I own professor here who taught me in high school, Professor Dombrowski. She brought me here for this Teaching Matters convention. And after that, I told myself, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna be an ECE major at Towson. And here I am now doing that, exactly just that.
Words matter. I love it. Love it. All right. Thank you. Breakout room number 3.
I think that
that was 3. Sorry, 4. Sorry, 4.
Hello, I was in charge of group number 4.
Okay.
So some of the words that I wrote down were reliability, which we keep hearing a lot, accountability. They explained that they meant filling the needs and purpose, and also serving as the initial pathway for employment for students. They also have accessibility, opportunity, diversity, collaboration, growth, results, confidence, equity, achievement, innovation, opportunity, affordable, quality, and serving as an investment. Then some of the notes that I wrote down was that USG has to be a destination and a launch pad. Someone else mentioned that they wanted to allow for economic growth, develop pathways towards employment, and lastly, to give student choices to develop their careers.
So serving as an investment, anybody want to elaborate on that concept? Or Giselle, you can do it as well, but anybody from your group?
Well, it wasn't my word, but serving as an investment, students are coming in there to invest in their future and also invest in the opportunity to move forward in a career. That's what that investment means to me. I'm not sure if any of the other groups have more to add on that, but that's what it meant to me.
Yeah, it was Mark who brought up the word Mark Trainham. And I think he said that also, is that you take care of your investments, right, Henry? That the students are investing in us, we're investing back in the community, but you must maintain your investments and make sure all the time to adjust how your investments are working. So that tied in a few other things we were talking about.
Great, excellent. Thank you. That helps. All right. Breakout room number 5. Who was the student scribe for that?
It was Jasmine.
Jasmine. Okay. Hi.
Hi. So some of our words, I noticed these were more common, was inclusive, equity, innovative, sustainable, adaptable, change, and community. And what we discussed in our breakout room was that in order for USG to support students and the community around, it's important to be sustainable. With being sustainable, it has to be like financially viable and make sure that we have realistic long-term operations in order to support the community. And with this will come innovation and just being adaptive will help foster innovation on the USG, as well as, just aiding USG in being transformative for the campus, for the students and the community around. So like Martin was talking about how USG was going to be like an innovation hub, and with that, you have to be adaptive and to help students change from like an academia setting to like a more pragmatic sense. So I just found that there was like all these different words, they did work together to pull this like one very big thing that USG does for the community.
Well, thank you. So I was going to ask about the change word, but you just brought it all together very nicely, Jasmine. So thank you very much. I don't know if you noticed student scribes in the chat. Rose is asking that you DM the words because she's going to do something with them. So if you could DM, and I feel pretty hip just using that term, if you could DM the words to Rose. So that'd be great.
Yes.
All right.
Please,
So
thank you.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying thank you. That I'm trying to capture as much as I can, but I think I missed a few. So as long as I get the list, we're good.
I know. All right. Breakout room number 6.
So I was the student scribe for breakout room number 6. Hi guys, I'm Kadeen.
Hi, Kadeen.
And we had a lot of words. I think my list was 23 in in length. And I tried to write as much as I could, but I'll be a little bit repetitive because most groups have mentioned some of these words. But the ones that kind of stuck out for us was innovation, innovated, collaborative, collaboration, inclusion, system, equity, student-centered, USM branding, economic opportunity, universal access, pathways, empower, and student success. And the conversation that we really had was around innovation and innovated, and it was talking about it's kind of at the core of what we do, and USG kind of it creates a safe space for innovation and real opportunity for students. And this is the only campus like us. So the conversation stems from just because of that, that should really be a part of, whatever it is that we come up with in the end. The next part of the conversation was about like student-centered and being equitable. And we talked about meeting the students where they are, and we're reaching all types of students, whether they're first generation or non-traditional students. And then we talked a little bit about collaboration, because we're collaborating as students, we're collaborating as institutions, and how we're working together. We're just unique in our foundation. And so that was pretty much it. I hope I said everything correctly as how everybody would like it, but if anyone wants to chime in, if I didn't say anything that speaks to you, please do so.
Could anybody elaborate on system? That was the first time I'd heard that. Anybody
Might
remember?
have been MJ who brought that one up, and I don't think she's here right now, but I think the whole idea of the systemness, the working with all the institutions,
Okay.
may have gone a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't write down anything, but again, the idea of the branding and having people know what USG means, and how we fit into everything.
How I call it iconic branding. Maybe branding us as if you came from Harvard, you're branded, right? You have this certain thought process, and having USG branding, so that when people realize you're coming from USG, it's steeped in a lot of our beliefs and a lot of the education, the highly educated people we put forth. So this focusing on that iconic branding for Shady Grove.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, breakout room 7.
Good day, everyone. I'm Alice. So a lot of the words we have already been mentioned. We had 32 words. So I'll try not to repeat what has been said already, but picking up on the system, we had systemness. And the whole idea was merging all these systems, making us more competitive outside, but collaborative within. So we are collaborative within, but as a group, we are competitive with the outside world. We had achievable, we had prepared, we had advanced, uplift, pathways. And also talking about branding, we talked about having a new brand, a new logo, and some dynamic colors, just so if someone sees a brand, they're like, oh, that must be USG. If someone hears, oh, I'm from USG, then they respect that student. We also talked about pathways from pre-K to jobs and looking at all the different pathways, and also empowering those who would execute the plans that we would make. If I miss out anything, please, can someone chime in?
Great job. More competitive outside and collaborative inside. I love that. Is somebody going to comment?
I was just going to comment real quickly. Alice brought to the table a really good explanation that sort of encapsulates our students, which I think is important because most of these words are, dealing with inclusivity and equity. And it's important to highlight that, we're serving all these big institutions who have those traditional students. But in our world, in our Shady Grove world, she described it as almost like the sandwich generation, where most of our students are still taking care of their own students. Some are taking care of their parents and working and doing all these things to really strive to better themselves. And so that's what makes us so unique, is that, we've got this world-class education being brought to people who are just working every aspect of life. And I just thought that was a really great way to talk about the community that we're serving. So that was all.
Excellent. All right. And our last breakout group, number 8.
Hello, everyone. So for group 8, we have words such as inclusive, engagement, being the center, lifelong, and the one that has been repeated the most was transformative, which I think it embodies what we all want to do here. We have also words like equity and collaboration, and of course, community.
All right. Anybody want to add to Jennifer's report out on that? So transformative, I think that might have been the first time I heard that in all the groups. So that's good. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do let me just double check with you, Anne. We're going to do the Chatterfall. And then while we're compiling that, you're going to be talking about upcoming workshops and sort of wrapping up, and then we'll do the closeout. Does that sound like?
That's right, Paula.
Okay, so I'm going to give everybody an assignment to do now. So you heard a lot of words, and if each of these breakout rooms had, I don't know, 10, 15, some had 30, some of the overachievers had 30 words. This is going to be your one chance to give the one must-have word. So when I count to 3, what I want you to do, don't do it yet, but when I count to 3, put your fingers on the keyboard and put in the chat your must-have word. You ready? And we're going to look at them and see what we come up with. Rose is going to try to put together something for us, either from the DMs or this chat. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. Look at that. Nice. Graceful. There's a new word in there. Opportunity, equity. Inclusive, sustainable, freedom. Regenerative. Now I know what that means. All right, did everybody get a chance? So I think Rose is busy probably at work right now, and we're going to ask Anne to sort of bring us together here on the wrap up.
Thank you, Paula, and
Yes.
thank you, everyone. Before I give some of the details, some of the takeaways and next steps, I'm going to ask my co-chair, Ike Leggett, to share his thoughts on this meeting and any big takeaways that he has. Ike? Ike, you're on mute.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for your participation. I participated in chat room number 5, and I found the very, very good and sustainable discussion about all the issues that I think go to what I think we will have at the end of this process. I want to leave you a couple of words. Again, you've seen the outline of the dates, the time, the process that we're going to follow. But that is not written in stone, because you may have some questions, suggestions, and ideas that we may want to consider. We want to make certain we incorporate those. This is a process that's designed to have a shared vision of leadership here. And so your participation today and beyond is very, very important to all of us. And we'll tell you more about the details of the individual discussion groups, the workshops that we'll have, but reach out to us collectively or individually as we go forward. Thanks again for your participation today.
Thanks so much, Ike. So I'll just say this has been a wonderful session for me. I feel like I've learned some new things, had some new inspirations, some really great different ways of thinking about USG. There's something about the accessibility and porousness of this campus. And I saw that today with the ideas that don't typically get brought into higher education conversations sometimes. They were brought in today in a way that was so inspiring and so uplifting. So thank you all for participating, for taking this seriously, for digging in with us. We've got a lot of work to go. We have coming up on July 9th, be on the lookout for the announcement for this. It's the first of a summer series of workshops that will focus on, thanks, Jeff, that will focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, and community wealth building and the connections between the two. We have with us today, Professor Ralph Hall, who's a former colleague of mine from Virginia Tech, a leading scholar on sustainability. And he is going to be leading that session along with Andy Schell, who is in a strategic HR position at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And he does a lot of leadership work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so the two of them together are going to challenge our thinking on these topics and how they can be infused into and foundational to our strategic planning process. Everybody is welcome to those. You need to sign up, but everybody is welcome. They'll be on Zoom. We'll also have another session then on innovation and others down the road. The innovation workshop is on July 30th. So I encourage you all to be tuned into those and participating in those. The strategic planning committee is going to be meeting throughout that whole process as well. Then when we get to the end of the work of the first round of the strategic planning committee, we will have some concepts, some areas. Jim Collins in Good to Great calls these areas components of a flywheel, right? We have our vision in the center, and the flywheel, what we do to move the flywheel forward drives the vision. And so the strategic planning committee will take all of these ideas and give a draft sense of what the flywheel looks like. And we will take all those components of the flywheel and we will form work groups. And that will happen in late August, early fall. Those work groups will be dive-in moments to really dig into these key areas. Again, everybody is welcome to participate. Each of those work groups should have membership from across the whole USG community as well, and all of our partners. And then we will move toward the Shared Vision Summit, which will happen sometime in late fall. So I hope you all will continue to engage. This is a process. What is most important about strategic planning is how we do it and how it sets the foundation for what we want to do as well. And so I'm inspired by everyone's participation today, because I know USG has a great future, building on the great work of the past 20 years. And I'm excited to work with all of you. So with that, I think we have let's see if Rose is ready with our word cloud.
Ta-da.
There we go.
All right.
Nice.
See a lot of big words here with opportunities, community, equity, collaboration, sustainability, innovation. Those are all things that we definitely heard throughout the conversation. So good to see that reflected here, especially, and hopefully we'll get all of that within our new strategic plan.
Rose, thanks for your great quick work on this. Let's save this and let's see how this evolves as we go forward as well. So
any takeaways from anybody that they want to add after they've seen all these words?
Yeah, I'm trying to get that regenerative.
I know.
Talk about that a lot more on July 9th.
Yeah, right.
Any comments from anybody else? Any surprises?
Paula, I'll just, if I could just add, I think so much of this, the word that I keep thinking about in my mind is care, and just the amount of care that I've heard today from everyone, and how the words that we're working on for the vision just really reflect everyone's care that they have for USG, for the community. So that was really inspiring.
Thank you. Anybody else have similar thought they want to share?
I'll second that, but I also did want to share something about the word innovative. I think that is absolutely what we are, but as somebody whose job for the past 8 years, sorry, I'm being recorded or not, innovative is ambiguous. And so if it's not tied to other things, it might be seen as innovative as experimental. Let's see if this will work. And I think we're more established than that. And so I know we talk about it as an innovative experiment in higher education or an innovative model of higher education. And I don't find that resonates with the prospective student community very well, because it doesn't really nail it down. Whereas all the other words are more like what USG does that's unique and why we're innovative. Like the other words explain why we're innovative, and innovative itself is a little broader. So I think it should be part of the concept, but I just wanted to bring up that point. Others can certainly agree or disagree.
Comments?
I think this is Annie. I think that was the point I was trying to make in my breakout room about words matter and how we present and what words we present to the communities that we're trying to attract is important, because students will see these words and it has to resonate with them. And I think that's the point that Jen is trying to make. And the students that I come across in the community, sometimes the words do not resonate. And so as we move forward, we really have to be more intentional about not just about what we're trying to do from our side, but looking at it from the student's perspective and being careful about putting words in there that they will be attractive to them. And that's why those words really matter.
As someone who did have innovative as one of our words, I also think that, for me, it's a reminder for the campus that is how we were born. We were born of innovation. We disrupted higher ed when we created our campus, and it's always a constant reminder, and it's something that has to be a constant reminder that should be how we continue to be. There's a lot of opportunities when we can say, oh, this is how our university partners are doing it, so we should just do what they've been doing. But that's not how we weren't created to follow any of our university partners. We are created to lead. And that's where, and so to me, that's where innovation goes. We want to, it's not necessarily something you sell to the students, but as a reminder to ourselves, are we continuing to have that innovative spirit? You know, it comes up a lot. I know when we have like the hybrid remote work, a lot of our campuses are like, we can't do that. We have to have everyone on campus, but it's an opportunity for us to say, well, we can do it differently and we can be innovative and continue to, that's where I was coming out with the innovative one, to really keep ourselves grounded in where we started. We started with innovation, and we want to make sure that we don't lose that as we continue on and get bigger and get more partners and get a lot of other people who are going to have a lot of input.
I might just comment on what I saw in that list that what I didn't see in that list was competitive. Jim Collins, when you think about what Jim Collins was talking about and what they were trying to do, those organizations, when they're creating their flywheel, the one thing they had to be is competitive. That word does not show up in our list. And I think there's a connotation that competitiveness has that we need to figure out how to change. Because if we're not competitive, you can't win.
Good comments, all great comments.
Let me jump in here and say there's another word that's not on that list anywhere, even though I said it, and it really stands out for me in its absence, and that is education. It's not on our list anywhere. And I think it's important that we remember that the innovation, the inclusivity, the opportunities all have to serve the educational purpose. We are not, if you do innovation for the sake of innovation and it doesn't help us educate our students, it's really not worth it. You know, the value of USG is going to be the maximum value of the educational experience. And that's our maximum. So everything has to serve that educational purpose, not just be off doing its own thing. So I think that's important to include.
That's a great word to end on, don't you think, Anne?
It's awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. How did we manage that? How did we manage not putting education in there? I just want to give a special thank you again to the students who recorded everything and who reported out. You all did a magnificent job. Very excited to have the students engaged through this whole process. Again, appreciate all of you so much. Thank you to my co-chair, Ike Leggett. Thank you to Paula for her fantastic coordination and leading of this effort, to the whole core group team, and to everybody who participated today. Really appreciate it. More soon.